Good evening. This is the Ascended Podcast. My name is Caleb Schulke, and welcome into tonight's stream. I'm really glad to be back, guys. I've been on vacation the last week. It's been an exciting week catching up with your parents. You don't realize really how much life means to you and how important things are until you get to see the outcome of your success, the fruits of your labor. Every time I see my parents, there's always some comments about how much I've changed, how much I'm growing, right? Because your parents, among other people, are individuals that have been with you literally since day one. They've seen your entire lifespan. They've joined you on the journey, sometimes voluntarily, sometimes involuntarily, because they had to. And if you're blessed to have both your parents in your life, you understand the importance of family and why it's so important to share your successes as well as your failures with those close to you. The Ascendant Podcast, what we're going to talk about tonight is something very critical to the success of your ventures in the future. It's how to create a family. Not only that, but what I would even call a cult, a group of people that are obsessed with each other, obsessed with growth, obsessed with purpose, and how to take an impact that you would like to make on the world and get other people to believe in it so strongly that they would choose nothing else but you and your mission. Welcome in. Let's begin. The first thing I want to do tonight is ask a question. What do Andrew Tate, the Huberman Lab, Elon Musk, a Catholic Church, and Kanye West all have in common? Well, it's probably not what you think. They've all built something. They built a cult-like following. And I know the word cult itself, right? You think of Manson, right? These crazy, off-in-the-woods ventures of people that do the most absurd things. But that's not necessarily the definition. A cult is not always in the woods. It's not drinking the Kool-Aid. Some of them are clean. Some of them are commercial. They're suit-wearing type ventures. Others are loud, polarizing. They could be meme-worthy, right? Think of Kanye right now. Some preach health. Others sell chaos. And some, honestly, just drop hoodies. So what does it mean to be in a cult? What does it mean to have a following that's so strong that it can classify in one of these categories? Well, first, I want to talk about the power of a cult before we break down how it works. A cult in general is always going to win for one main reason. They don't attract buyers. Unlike a business, they attract believers. Belief is always the strongest motivator behind any of our actions. In fact, I would argue that to be a buyer, you have to be a believer. You have to believe that a product will work to buy it. You have to care about a cause to support it. You have to understand the purpose of something and why it's intended to work before you even care to look at it more than once. In 2025 and beyond this date, in the hyper-competitive world and market we live in, now even more saturated with AI business, if you want to succeed online, you can't just have a product. You need a following that would quite literally die on a hill to protect your brand and your image. That seems impossible, right? It seems harder than ever to get people to give a shit about your cause. So how do you do it? I'm glad you asked, because in this episode, we're breaking down exactly how to build that. So if you guys have a few minutes to hang out, I'd love to explain it. This is the blueprint of a cult following, not the toxic kind, but the scalable, ethical, and unstoppable kind of cult. So first, a cult is a following of a group of people who have these exact patterns. First, they adopt shared beliefs. Think of religion. They all believe in the same story, the same causality. Second, they repeat shared language. That could be slogans. It could be greetings. It could be songs. It could be anything that has the same phrases repeated over and over. Third, they act in unity. They do things together. They don't isolate themselves. They become a community and support each other. And finally, most importantly, they feel emotionally bonded to a central figure, either a person, a product, or an ideology. Every single cult shares these common trends. I'll give you examples, and these are going to surprise you a little, but maybe not so much. First, Apple. Apple has a shared belief: simplicity, modernization, sleekness. They have shared language: iPhone, iPod, iPad, AirPlay, AirDrop, common language, common phrases, common trends. They act in unity. The products themselves, as well as the users, they only buy Apple stuff. They continue to buy into this ecosystem. I'm using an Apple iPad right here, which I can AirDrop to my computer. I have my iPhone. It's all shared within the same web and ecosystem. And finally, they feel emotionally bonded to a central figure, product, or ideology. And in this case, it's the idea of convenience, having everything at your fingertips, needing less, having one device with less charging ports, with minimal disconnect, all through the air, through the cloud, airdropping, airplaying, right? All of these things that create simplicity for a user and an amazing customer experience. Apple has a shared enemy, which is Android. Their ritual, right, is equal to their keynotes. In this case, they express how what they're doing is different from that of their competitors. They get people to buy into their ideology, and therefore Apple can charge whatever they want for their products. They're going to get some disgruntled members when they say it's $500 for a Mac stand, right? Which I believe they did at a recent keynote. But their people still buy the products because Apple is an insanely well put together cult, respectively. Second, let's talk about somebody like a person, Andrew Tate. The enemy, right, that he always preaches is the matrix. You hear that term thrown around a lot. And I know you may or may not like the guy, but I'm using him as an example because he's one of the best people in this space to do it. Rituals are equal to the gym, working out, right? Boxing, fighting, cigar smoking, eating red meat, whatever it is, driving supercars, all of the things he does that reinforces his masculinity. And finally, the war room, which is this shared unity action, right? Of everyone joining into a common practice together. All of the signs that are expressed by a cult. Once again, it's not a negative thing to be a cult all the time. This is actually a powerful business technique. Kanye West, his aesthetic. Think of Yeezy, right? Bold, sleek earth tones, dominant, oversized bagginess, right? That encapsulates you in clothing. That makes you feel comforted. That literally surrounds you and challenges the norm. That's what he does on social media. That's what his clothing does. Rebellion. And he uses fashion as expression because none of his clothing looks the same as what's on the market. Elon Musk, future first narrative, going to Mars, launching rockets, self-driving cars, flamethrowers, the Boring Company, underground train systems. He has unfiltered leadership, and he seems to be the guy who just doesn't care about paying attention to the standard way of doing things. That happens when he shouts out Dogecoin on social media, pumping it up. Alex Hormozy, the no, sell, sell, using credibility with just simple techniques, being genuine, right? He uses these terms to talk about how you don't need to oversimplify success. There's basic formulas to everything. Everything he talks about is scientific and a formula. And he's playing this long game narrative of constantly reinforcing the same ideas, kind of like Dave Ramsey. Let's talk more abstract. Logan Paul, the maverick identity, not fitting in with the crowd, kind of being disruptive, a misfit, as he calls himself, being proud of that, selling merch, being impulsive and not with the current trend. If you didn't know, Impulsive was his podcast and still is. These are not just influencers, these people. They're leaders of digital tribes. Every person I named has a cult-like following. Millions, in some cases, of people that follow their ideas and in some cases would die for these people that they've never met in person. How did they get this way? Well, again, most of them started very simple. Here's what history can teach us about our cult-like psychology. Historical cults that we're going to study right now, not for tactics and not replication, right? Jonestown. Let's talk about the Jonestown cult. There was absolute belief in this Jonestown system, right? Closed loop communication. They didn't let people out of this experiment. They were stuck within the space to interact with each other. And there was emotional framing where they kind of made those who wanted to leave feel like outsiders. Imagine the social pressure of being in middle school, right? Of the cliques, but times 1,000, where you feel like you were jumping off the edge of the world when you left Jonestown. Charles Manson, as we mentioned before, another experiment. Identity reprogramming. Quite literally challenging the standard belief of the way the world works. Broken people seeking belonging, looking for an explanation to their pain, and Manson coming in, offering the Kool-Aid for them to drink, metaphorically, of course. Scientology, hierarchy, secrecy, very closed off, high expense for a purpose to make them a lot of money. Celebrity endorsement, gamified growth, multiple tiers to work your way up, an XP type model that you see in video games. That's addictive because you want to keep progressing because apparently the secrets that you haven't explored yet are one level above and behind a paywall. Religious orders, and this one might shake some trees, but rituals, going to church on Sundays, taking certain days off, going to prayer these times of day, facing this direction, going to visit certain sites, relics, certain artifacts that come out at certain times of year, that you pray to, that you talk about, that you tell stories about. Sacred language, amen, Muhammad, right? All these certain names and figures that stand out in common practice. Fraternities and gangs, kind of one of the most common, but that we don't think about at colleges or just in school or on the street, right? Inflation and initiation of common beliefs, right? That everyone is out to get you, that you have no choice but violence, that pain is the only way out, and it equals belonging, and that you have to do something painful. Uniforms, right? Red, blue bandanas, as you've seen before. The dark side of cults, because I wanted to talk about all of those examples, teaches us how humans are wired to follow. Biologically, the only way you could stay alive if you were in dangerous parts of the early world, right? We're following other human beings who look like they knew what they were doing. Keyword being looked like. That doesn't mean they knew, because nobody knows. Nobody truly knows what's behind the next corner. But the person that feels the most confident will inspire others because they feel like that person will at least have a better chance than I can. It's a common misbelief most of us have, but confidence or arrogance can be our downfall at times. But if you understand the good parts about this, how belief systems form, why we follow these people, how language creates identity and practice, and how enemies unite a group like Apple and Android, well, then you can use that for good. You can use it to make yourself a lot of money. And you can build something that people latch onto with their whole identity, ethically and legally, because attention isn't loyalty. Getting someone to acknowledge what you're doing on social media doesn't mean they're going to follow you. Loyalty is ritual, emotion, belonging. I'm going to say that one more time. Loyalty is ritual, emotion, belonging. But doing the same things I'm doing, not just paying attention to what I'm doing, is what gets you to stay around. So how do you get people to take action? That call to action part is one of the hardest things, but it needs to be backed by belief. And so let's talk about the levels of a cult following, because the first one is belief. You need a simple, viral core truth, something that most people realize, but they just don't acknowledge out loud, something that makes sense to most people. And this is going to feel a little bit Machiavellian, manipulative, misleading, psychologically twisted, but that's the whole point. Because most business models that attract people do it in a way that people don't even know they're being led. That's not manipulative if you're doing it for the right reasons and you genuinely believe in your purpose. You're not, selling dynamite to babies, right? So there's so many good ways you can make money and inspire good movements for the right causes. Traditional education is broken is a great message. You see this a lot. Andrew Tate says this. Pretty much any political podcaster typically reinforces this point to show them how they should be educated. You hear the concept of the matrix. The matrix is real. You're surrounded in a simulation. I actually do believe that one. I actually do believe that our version of reality is kind of a simulated construct that our beliefs very heavily influence. And most importantly, I probably believe that historical religious figures were people that didn't necessarily have superpowers, but just believed in the fact that their beliefs quite literally shape the reality of their life, because they reinforce that so much subconsciously that it just becomes their identity. And that's, I would say, the concept behind most religion. So if you feel like religion has never really identified with you, or you've never identified with it, just know that most religious practices are saying, in essence, the same thing. There's a greater power, a greater force out there. And there's prophets. There's certain people that represent this greater force that have come to tell you that you can connect with the greater world around you, the universe, the God, whatever it is, by just believing very strongly in core tenets about who you are and what you believe in that is good or bad for you in life, and reinforcing that every single day. Make people feel smart, make them feel awake, right? Through messaging like what I just told you, and part of something bigger, that we're all in this together. And all of a sudden, they believe you because they understand that they can't do it alone. And so they have to believe and find other people to back that. And not only will they join your cause, they're going to find and recruit other people to believe in that as well. In business, we call it affiliate marketing as just a fancy term. But in this case, in a cult following, it's completely free. Because when people genuinely believe in your movement, you're not going to have to pay them to bring you new customers. They're going to do it because they genuinely care. I've done this with my coaching business. I've had people refer other people, never had to pay them a dime. And just because I do so good of a job at actually helping, that it's just easy to bring in new people. Shout out if you're one of the clients watching this, by the way. Identity. So second, this is the second principle. We've covered belief, right? They have to believe in that greater mission to something bigger than themselves. Now they have to show themselves, as well as you reinforcing why this is actually the truth and why it's in alignment with who they are as a person. Your audience should know who they are explicitly because of your content or your product. You should essentially, and again, feels a little manipulative, but in reality, it's how any religion or business practice that's really good works. Essentially, spoon feed you certain phrases to reiterate or to believe in terms of your identity that they tell you will bring results. So builders don't chase dopamine. We don't scroll, we ship, we build, right? Ascenders think in systems. If you aren't working hard, you're lazy. If you believe in traditional education, you're broken, right? You keep giving them things. The matrix is coming for you. All of these terms, right, that you hear, that you regurgitate and start to believe yourself. I'm not saying they're wrong. In fact, I'd actually argue that most of them are right, because for them to be believed and to be identified with, they have to hold some sort of truth. And so while I wouldn't say that our universe is necessarily lines of code, I'm also not denying that. I would say more likely there is some version of this reality that is simulated in some way, not just in a computer code way, but in our beliefs shape our reality type of way, kind of like a video game. You can kind of do whatever you want and create your own reality because of that. But it doesn't mean there's like lines of code. So when you say the matrix, it's not necessarily truthful, but it has truth aspects to it. Does that make sense? And so again, every kind of religion and major practice reinforces that. Rituals. This is how you turn your content into culture. Okay. How do we practice this identity? Because first we show the belief in what worldview we want to establish. Then we show how we can integrate it into our life. And then we show, more importantly, how we actually guarantee we become this person. So that's weekly calls, morning challenges, merchandise, Kanye West, right? Private group names, creator clips every single day, content practices, giving your fans, a title for themselves, right? That's how we create a sort of belonging. And it's especially well put toward people that don't necessarily feel like they have a meaning in life. That's why you've seen cults like that have been bad for society, arguably, take advantage of people with less going for them in life because they need something to latch onto. They're looking for an outlet. And unfortunately, these manipulative cults that we've had in history that have been notorious have just kind of sought out these people and told them that everything that they believed that got them to this broken point was a lie, and this is the only way out for them. And it's kind of been a lie because then you kind of entrap that person, but in some way too, you're giving them a purpose. So I'm not going to argue if it's good or bad. I'm just going to say that that's how that happens. And finally, number 4, what we talked about already. Most of you skip this, but it's really important for your team. Think of an NFL team, right? I'm a Green Bay Packers fan. They hate the Chicago Bears. They hate the Minnesota Vikings. Probably most notably, they hate the Bears, though. No cult works without contrast. If you don't have something to unite against, then you're not triggering the biological effect of the human mind to want to wage war, especially the male mind. Males especially feel this way. The enemy can be vague. It doesn't have to be a person. It can be the 9 to 5. It can be the matrix, the algorithm, corporate slavery, whatever it is. Government regulation, or it can be very specific. NPCs, crypto tourists, woke banks that don't have your needs at heart. Even certain groups of people, which I'm not going to say right now because I don't want to get canceled, nor should I. Number 5, the reward. We've given them the fear aspect, the fear mongering part. How do we reward them for then practicing what we want to reward the good behavior? Because ideally a good cult has positive and negative ways of affirmation. So how do we get the tribe to stay in, and how do we get them to continue to be motivated? Well, first, there has to be some sort of leveling, skill, growth, rewards from people that have shown their efforts. Next, community, a way for them to interact and show each other and brag about the accomplishments that they've had. The people that have donated the most money to the church usually sit in the front row, right? I've seen that happen before. The people that donate the most to the sports team get to sit in the box. See what I'm saying? Every single organization that has a strong cult-like following practices this in some way. Unlockable levels, gamified progress, the amount of interaction you get to have with the source, right? I don't want to be targeting religion here, but like the reverend, the pastor, right? To be sitting close to him, to get to talk to him before anyone else, to get to sports team wise, to get to, or concert wise, like to get to come backstage for the past, to pay extra money to do that. The reputation you get from being that person that gets to interact at that level, the profit share, maybe even in some cases, the recognition. Tribes form when the benefits of loyalty exceed the cost of solitude. When it's so much more rewarding to join in and to be at the higher level than it is to do nothing and just be a common follower. When you're dying to get that access, okay? So you need all 5 of those parts. Let's go over them one more time. Belief, identity, ritual, enemies, and rewards. If you do all 5 of those, you are on the right path. Again, make sure you're doing them ethically. Let's get into the next part. How do we build our cult online? This is the part you've all been waiting for. We've talked about what a cult is. I've given you examples. We've talked about the different ways that you can experience them and the ways cults build their following traditionally. So how do you do this online in the space that most of us are common building, either with a business, a community, a movement, a culture, a brand ecosystem, whatever it is, a social media page? Well, these are the different platforms I would leverage, and I'm going to tell you how to use these platforms specifically. First is TikTok. And on TikTok, we are aiming for rapid exposure. We're aiming for language spread. We're using specific words. Think about like the brain rot you see on TikTok, right? Like chopped and rizzed up, right? Like somebody created these terms and then they made a video that was funny or just got other people to share in the inside joke. And all of a sudden that certain phrase starts spreading like wildfire. And the person that came up with the term chopped, meaning your looks are bad, right? Massively spread that following. And I'm sure that they have a massive following for that point too, because they are the source of that information. Other people wanted to flock in to see what the creator of the term chopped would come up with next. I know I'm getting very meta here and I'm kind of cringy, but do you understand what I'm saying? Like, do you understand the lesson behind this? Next is Instagram. Instagram, you have to be on Instagram. I'm sorry. I don't even want to be. I'm actually posting stuff on Instagram automatically from my algorithm as I'm doing this live stream. So I have most of it automated at this point. But Instagram's purpose is credibility, lifestyle, and aesthetic. It's showing people what their life would look like if they join into your movement. Less about the education videos. I know I post those a lot, but more about showing what your lifestyle is, the cars, the outfits, the yachts, the trips. I know it feels materialistic, but you have to do it. Next, YouTube. We need to create a story and a belief system of depth. What am I doing right now? Well, this live stream is getting recorded. It's going to get edited down. The silence will get cut out. It's going to get posted on Rumble and YouTube, the two long form platforms that help my brand grow dramatically and establish credibility with you guys. That's on purpose because I want you guys to believe and know, I guess, that I have a lot of knowledge in this space from growing brands in the past. And then I also want to help you guys be successful. This can only come from longer interaction. Next is Discord. This one can be on or off. You could substitute this for a platform like WAP, Kajabi, School, some sort of community platform. You're gonna do rituals here and interaction. You want to encourage people to share their ideas among each other and be the source of all of this happening, right? How many great friends and neighbors meet each other at church and become lifelong buddies? Well, the church was the reason they connected. So they're not going to stop going to church if something so good in their lives came from it. That's the platform I want you guys to establish, not a church necessarily, but become the space where other people can meet and grow connections, because subconsciously they're going to establish that value to you. You're going to become the source of that benefit in their life, even if you never did anything except supply the person that they met. And again, additionally, have the rituals to make them feel like they're practicing your belief in daily practice. Can be a mixture of either of these, but I would say Telegram, maybe email, maybe WhatsApp, something like that, some sort of group chat, which creates some sort of intimacy or secrecy. I've even seen Signal used for this because it's especially known for having encrypted, secure conversations. So it feels like you're in this inner private room. But if you use one of these group chats, it feels removed a little bit from the community. This is where your higher ticket members, your cult-like true backstage pass fans can come and pay premium dollar to interact with you and your service. I help my coaching clients a lot with this just because it pays the big bucks. When people believe in your mission, they see you have 10,000 plus followers, they will pay a lot more money than the standard client because they know that being close to you will make them like you, as long as you're doing all of the previous steps. And finally, something I would recommend is my platform Ascend, or School can also serve this purpose. You could use many other different systems. I know Flowsy is a great one to manage your clients, your products, your interaction, and monetize this with a service, payment walls, and be able to have your business hosted. That's where people can find your company. You can set up community pages, landing pages, and it's kind of your outward facing source for your belief system, your movement, because your Instagram is your face, but you need a wider business platform to cover your cult. And finally, how do we create content for all of those platforms? Well, I'm not going to go through all of them one by one because you guys are tired of me speaking, and I kind of am too. Very briefly, I'm going to give you the 4 things I'd recommend you do. First, I want you to drop your beliefs in very short clips, very short. Think 8 to 10 seconds. Your goal with TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, Facebook, I think they're called Shorts as well, or Reels, one of those two. And then Snapchat, whatever it's going to be, those short form videos. You want to drop some sort of interest spiking content, something that's going to get people curious, but not giving them the full amount of information. Your goal is to get them to click on your profile and see your credibility content that's in your highlights, what's in your bio saying about what you do and how you're credible, and then clicking on that link, which leads them to an experience of showing your true mission, where they can really get to know and establish those core belief foundations and want to be part of that movement. Next, I want to show your systems through those links. Have damn good credibility. And if you don't have the means to prove that yet, do your service for free, start your cult belief for free, and just start talking to people until you get testimonials, content, anything to back up what you're saying is true. Third, meme your movement. This is becoming a crazy way of growing nowadays. Find a way to make fun of yourself, because psychologically, we know that the people that can crack jokes, people that can establish kind of rip-offs of their own content, that can turn their content into funny videos or side quest missions and things like that, are those with established presence. So if we want to fake it or get started right before we actually have the credibility here, we want to show that other people love our stuff so much that they're willing to share it in more pleasurable formats, that they want to talk about us even outside of our main interaction platform. So if you can share a meme that has subtle context to your brand, that makes someone go, you know what, that was funny, but I don't get what the purpose of that logo was. Who is that company? And then they click and check you out. You just gain yourself, I guarantee, a cult follower, not just a follower, especially if what they see to back that up is full of credibility and honest mission purpose. And finally, the language. If you don't know right now the terms your brand and cult uses, you need to figure that out now. What do you say? And what are the things you do in terms of rituals that are different from any other community or platform out there? Start with that. Start with those terms, the terms that make people say, I haven't heard that word used in so long. What does that even mean? What does Riz mean? What does chopped mean? Because you have to look up the definition. You have to go to the comments section, which drives interaction and engagement. Don't try to appeal to everyone. This is the biggest mistake I see people make. They try to pretend that they have millions of followers when they don't. That's actually not going to help you. It's going to do the opposite. It's going to look like you're trying too hard to be something you're not. You should actually build polarity on purpose. You should make the inside joke a thing. Make people feel, this could be a little manipulative, so bear with me, but this is truly how it works. Make people feel like they don't get what you're saying. Some of them will scroll away, and that's fine actually, because the people that don't, once they learn what your terms mean, they'll watch another video because now they're in on the joke. And when they see another video of yours pop up in their feed and someone's commenting, what does that even mean? They're gonna be like, oh, you got to go watch this guy's videos. You clearly just don't get it. You're not one of us. Because that polarity, right? In this case, you're kind of enemizing other people, which can be kind of hostile, I know, but it's what creates following. Because the more someone makes fun or drives contrast to somebody that doesn't understand your movement, the stronger they believe in yours. I'm not telling you to manipulate. I know that's a little bit Machiavellian there, but you have to understand, I'm just telling you how these things work. And finally, repeat your language, right? Again, be clear about what you don't stand for. Make it very well known who you are and who you aren't. Again, I don't want to keep using this example, but think of religions. Religions say what we are and what other religions are. They kind of get you to almost make fun of people that don't understand how your religion works, why they don't believe in what you do, and why what you believe is so much better than what anyone else believes. Do you understand how that kind of operates? This is what I want to tell you as we exit this simulated training. First, the world is fragmenting. Everything that we know is falling apart. AI is coming for the middle class, the majority of people. That means you're either rich or you're poor. And if it's 1% and 99%, well, you have a 99 out of 100% chance of being poor. The algorithms are guaranteeing that the people that have the means to start are going to beat you. And time is running out before that becomes certain everywhere. Truth is collapsing. It's being manipulated. It's being changed. It's being routinely driven certain ways by algorithms that you can't see or control. In the next 2 years, people will follow people. Because when everything else is fake, when brands are fake, when content is fake, when messaging is fake, when manipulation is everywhere, people will look for certainty because it stands out. So when you are genuine, when you are yourself, and when you believe in something so strongly, you cannot be broken or faked or simulated. People will drive themselves on purpose to you stronger than ever. But you need to start now so you have the presence before anyone else. They're not going to follow brands. They're not going to follow influencers, voices, tribes, truths. This isn't optional. It's survival. You either lead the tribe or you serve in someone else's. The timeline for this, I hate to say this, it is so limited. We have months left. I don't want to fearmonger. I'm being serious. If you watch this video and you click off and go to another video, I'm sorry, but you're gonna get left behind. This might actually be your last chance. If you don't do exactly what I'm about to tell you, this might be it for you. And I understand I'm practicing cult-like techniques right now, probably because I'm good at this stuff, which is why you should probably listen to me. But I'm serious because I believe in my vision so strongly. And I've thankfully picked a good vision and not a manipulative, evil worldview. We built our platform to give you the tools, the leverage, and the community to do this. Have your business, to host your systems. AscendAgency.io is our working in system. And that's our platform and tools you can use, like I mentioned earlier, to host the business and to manage your clients and to keep your systems functioning, to drive money in stronger than ever. But that's not the main tool I want to talk about. We're starting a community. I don't want to use the term because I know it's got a bad reputation, but that's exactly why I'm kind of doing it. NFTs, counterculture. In a culture where everyone feels like NFTs are a scam, when we put the cart before the horse and said, why would we want an image that can be proven to be certified by a certain owner online 2 years before the fact that AI started creating six-fingered hands, but almost like perfect replicas with the rest of the body of people. And then they figured out the finger part, and all of a sudden they have perfect clone-like images of you. And you're like, shit, well, if I could be framed doing a crime by an AI image, I might want to make sure that images online can actually be verified, that the blockchain is my only way out of this. We are just 2 years early with NFTs. So if you didn't see the value then, let's put this backwards. If you saw the value even then when the purpose for it didn't exist yet with AI. Now you see the threat of AI. And now you see the reason that NFTs have to exist. We've created a collection. There's only going to be 8,888 tokens, and I will hold one of them. So 8,887 tokens. I don't even know if I want to tell you guys. I feel like I kind of just want to let you check it out. You know what? I'll tell you. It's called Altura. Altura. Altura means altitude. It means to grow. And it has a similar purpose and community feature to Ascend. Altura is a collection of NFT characters that represent a fragmented part of society, a collection of hustlers and entrepreneurs and achievers that had to break the norm. When the world started falling apart, when the control players, when the power players in the world manipulated society and our planet in the next few decades, or even less, to work to their will, a certain amount of people had to stand up to that. They had to challenge the norm, achieve a higher standing and purpose. They had to drive themselves out of that system, to be rogue, to be operators, and to resist. That is Altura. That is our backstory. And I've created a collection that cannot be replicated, that is tied to the blockchain. And that will be worth an insane amount of money because it will buy access to our private community where I will share secrets and resources just like I am now for free to show you guys exactly how to achieve this level of success, how to build and guarantee your success in the new world because it's coming. And I don't want it to. I really don't. But I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have established this purpose if it wasn't going to. Free creative community is live. I have a free networking chat that you guys can join before that project launches. If you want to help grow the project, I will give you a free token because I believe in this mission. And if you believe in the purpose of establishing community and connection because humanity and our purpose to work together to beat any system may be the only thing we'll have left coming soon. If you believe in that vision at all, then I invite you to the Altura community. And I'm excited to see you guys in. It's hosted on Discord. And I just want to say that I want to make the next wave of my success and our success as a group, in our community, as a podcast, as a venture, and as a mission impossible. With everything coming down on us, AI systems, big corporations, corporate control, government, regulations, this is the way we survive, helping each other, sharing secrets, sharing tips, and not letting anyone else benefit or get access. We lock it down and we do it right. And we build our own way out. Thank you guys for watching. This has been the Ascended Podcast. I will see you guys back, I believe, on Saturday. And thank you guys for everything you've done and for listening up to this point. I'm rooting for you, as I always say, and I wish you the best night. Take care.